Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the second round of webinar sessions that are taking place on the future of the Greenhill Centre in Manor Park. My name is Oliver Deed, and I've been asked to act as the independent facilitator for this session this evening. Harriet, could I have the next slide? Before we get started, I have a few items of housekeeping to run through. The first is that the meeting is being recorded and Newham Council will be uploading a copy of this to the Co-Create platform that you registered through for this evening. Please use the raise hand function to make a point this evening if you would like to. Equally, if you'd like to ask a question, you can submit that through the chat function, which is available on the bottom panel on your Zoom screen at the moment. Questions are going to be taken at the end of the presentation. The project team are going to present for around 20 to 25 minutes, and then afterwards we will have around 30 minutes for questions from those that are in attendance tonight. So on to the project team itself. This project's being brought forward by the Affordable Homes for Newham team, and this session has been organised to provide residents with the opportunity to review and view the proposals and provide feedback and ask questions of the project team. In a change to our usual format, I'm going to get each member of the project team to introduce themselves. So let's tackle that mute button early, guys. James, I'm going to hand over to you. Would you introduce yourself, your role, how you're involved in this project?
Hi, good evening. My name's James Cross, and I'm a member of Newham Council staff in their Affordable Homes programme. So I'm the lead development manager on the scheme.
Brilliant. And then we head over to Harriet.
Hi, I'm Harriet Mulcahy. I'm architect at Haworth Tompkins, and I'm project architect on this scheme.
Mike, I'll bring you in.
Hi, I'm Mike Luschak from Me Landscape Studio. We're landscape architects for the project.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Matthews from First Plan. We're the planning consultants for the project.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. So as I say, please put your questions into the chat box if you have any throughout the presentation, or feel free to stick your hand up. And at the end of the presentation, I will take your questions. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to James, who's going to kick off the presentation. James, you have the floor.
Thanks, Oliver. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to attend this evening. This is the second round of consultation events regarding Newham Council's proposals for the Greenhill Centre. These proposals form part of the Mayor of Newham's commitment to 1,000 new council homes to start on site by March 2022. It really is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for councils across London, like Newham, to actually build genuinely affordable council homes that they will manage in the future and respond to the ongoing housing crisis in London. We're working with a number of internal stakeholders who are still residing and using the Greenhill Centre, the Sangam Surgery, Active Newham Manor Park Gym, and Fairbairn Boxing Club to either deal with relocation nearby or on site. And I'd also like to introduce to you the wider design team who are in attendance today. They've been working behind the scenes on the project. So shortly you'll receive a further presentation from Harriet at Haworth Tompkins. We have Mike from Me Landscape Studios. The structural engineers working on the project are Graphic Structures, and our M&E consultants are Max Fordham. The scheme we're looking to develop will be to a passive house low energy standard, and they're working hard to make sure that we can commit to our commitments to a low energy building and saving fuel costs for residents. And then the project will be supported by Potter Raper, quantity surveyors and employers agents. I'll now hand you over to Harriet, who'll take you through the scheme. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, James. So as James said, we're Haworth Tompkins, the architects. We have 30 years of residential experience. We're based in Kentish Town, and we often work in historic or sensitive urban areas with the desire to respect the setting, and we seek an inclusive and active approach to our projects through consultation with other local residents. We've included this example of one of our schemes, which is in West London, Silchester Estate. And the kind of massing and way we've broken down the massing and the building and the materiality is quite similar to the approach we're looking at for the Greenhill site. So I'll just run you through the site today. We obviously went through this at the last residents consultation, but just in case there's anyone new here. So the site itself sits south of Manor Park Underground Station, and to the west we have Woodgrange Overground Station, and then there's also a number of bus stops quite close to our site. As James mentioned, the existing building currently houses the gym, which we're looking to re-provide for our proposals, boxing club, GP surgery, and it's also bordered by kind of 3 main roads, which I'll go through in a little more detail now. So the first road is High Street North, which has a number of quite nice listed buildings and locally listed buildings, and really is a high street in nature. And then when you kind of get to the Greenhill Centre, at the moment it's quite a blank facade, and it doesn't really add much to the kind of active nature of the high street. So we're going to be looking to improve that. As you go around the corner onto Church Road, there's a slope in the site and quite a wide area of pavement, which you can see running from the kind of existing blank wall of the gym to the road. And again, we don't think this is, that successful in terms of adding to the high street. So we'll be looking to landscape this area and also provide an active frontage to our building on this road. And then the Church Road also has the railroad as well to the south, which I should have said. And then going around the site, we have Snowshill Road, which is a bit quieter in nature and more residential. And you'll see how we've kind of stepped our massing down and responded to the masonettes on this quieter road. So opportunities and a kind of brief for the site. So we're looking at around 80 homes, 90% dual aspect homes, which are nicer homes. We have 39% family homes, so that's 3-bed properties. And as James mentioned, the scheme will be 100% affordable. So that will be 70% London affordable rent and 30% shared ownership. As James mentioned, the project aims to be highly sustainable, with the gym targeting passive house principles, and also the gym, which we're re-providing on site, will be BREEAM excellent. So looking at the site, there's quite a number of factors to consider. There's 5 mature category B existing trees on site, which we straight away kind of wanted to keep within our proposal. There's kind of noise pollution considerations from the railroad and the High Street North. And then as well, there's a number of neighbouring properties which we needed to consider in terms of daylight issues to those properties. So these are some diagrams which explain how we developed our design. The first one shows that we're retaining the existing mature trees and using them to enhance our landscape proposal. We then have a residential courtyard garden in the centre, which is protected by the 3 buildings. As I mentioned, when going through the site photographs, we're looking to have active frontages on the main facades facing the street, and then the gym sat in the middle of the 3 residential blocks, kind of adding to that. We're looking at residential entrances and through cores, so you can kind of get through the core of the building if you're a resident straight into the garden. In terms of servicing and parking, there's 2 existing vehicle entrances to the site. So we've kept the one to the far north, which will be access to 3 accessible car parking spaces. And I think the location of this will minimize disruptions to kind of traffic on Snowshill Road. And then the last one just shows the kind of orientation, height and massing, which we've been trying to develop to have the lowest impact on surrounding neighbours, whilst also creating an enjoyable communal garden for the new residents of the scheme. And we've been working very closely with our daylight consultants to ensure the daylight levels to both the surrounding properties and for the new development. So I mentioned parking then, but the development will be a car-free development in accordance with council parking. And this means that new residents in the new homes will be unable to apply for parking permits, and parking permits on street will be reserved for existing residents in the area. But we will be providing 3 accessible parking spaces on site for residents in the new proposal. So this is kind of our finalised proposal following previous residents' consultations and taking on board discussions that we've had previously. So around 80 new homes, a large number of family-sized homes, as I mentioned, and improved landscaping and public realm, not just on our site, but kind of extending to the neighbouring areas of our site, which Mike will go into in more detail in the landscape section of this presentation. Here's a kind of more detailed plan of the ground floor. The blue arrows point to pedestrian entrances. So for our 3 residential blocks, we have a residential entrance from High Street North, from Church Road, and also from Snowshill Road. The smaller blue arrows show where we have individual entrances to masonette properties. So on Snowshill Road, similar to opposite, we'll have individual entrances to the 5 masonettes on that road. And again, on Church Road, we'll have 3 individual entrances for the masonettes. The kind of green and blue dots show some refuse and plant space. We've got the 3 accessible car parking spaces with the existing vehicle entrance to the north of the site. And here you can see the 5 existing mature trees are kept, and we've also got some additional tree planting. And then on this wide stretch of pavement that you could see in the site photographs earlier, we're going to have improved landscaping and also some cycle parking for the gym. As well, the gym will go over ground and first floor. It kind of takes up that footprint on first floor as well. So here you can see some kind of street views which were taken from our model. The model, by the way, is in Manor Park Library at the moment, so you can go and visit it yourselves. The High Street North block is 8 stories tall. We then have the gym element, which sits between the 2 blocks at 2 stories. And then the Church Road block, which is 7 stories. And then you can see as you go round the corner, the massing steps down in height to 4 stories with a 5th story that's set back to kind of respond to the masonettes opposite on Snowshill Road. And then we've included this time some more detailed elevations. So this is a straight on elevation from High Street North, and the one below is of Snowshill Road. So you can see the on Snowshill Road, the 4-story building with individual masonettes and the kind of carport area there. And this also kind of picks up on some of the detailing of the building. So we've looked quite closely at the surrounding conservation areas and surrounding brick detailing from some of the listed and locally listed buildings on High Street North. And we've kind of picked up on that detailing within our brick detailing. So we've got some kind of glazed tooth brickwork surrounding the windows, which is kind of a feature which is often seen on Victorian terrace properties and exist in the conservation area that's near to the site. I'll now pass over to Mike to go through the landscaping proposals. Thank you.
Thanks, Harriet. So yes, one of the changes from the previous version was that we're looking to close Snowshill Passage and make improvements to the passage just to the north next to the existing maisonettes. So this allows us to incorporate sort of larger space within the courtyard space, and also allows us to provide the improvements further to the north. And also working with local group as well in terms of those improvements, and looking at a play space which is on the drawing on the next sheet next to the maisonettes, which was something that came out of consultation with local residents and with the residents in the maisonettes. So this shows the overall plan for the landscape as it's developing. So you can sort of see there's the sort of central community space, which is made up of a range of different character areas for the landscape, including play areas for 0 to 4s and then 5 to 11-year-olds, raised grow your own planter areas, and then a more quiet space further to the northern edge, which also incorporates the 4 existing trees. And then just to the north of that, to the northwest, next to the maisonettes, is an area which will be a play space, which is enclosed. The existing trees will be retained there, and additional planting will be provided. And then along the junction of Church Road and High Street North, you can see the strip of land which Harriet mentioned earlier, which at the moment is just a tarmacked area. And there we're looking to retain an existing tree and then provide additional landscaped areas which highlight entrances to the building and to the gym, but also allows us to provide additional planting, including tree planting along this strip. And we're also looking at extending that across Snowshill Road to an existing area, which at the moment is just a grassed area, to provide additional planting, including tree planting and possible raised planters and a seating area as well. And the images to either side are just showing some of those ideas in terms of the play opportunities, active and passive grow your own raised planters, which will include fruit trees as well, defensible planting to the edge of the buildings in relation to the existing footpaths. So we have railings and we have defensible planting as well, with hedges. And then the ecological enhancements to the left of the sheet are showing where we're providing things like native wildflower meadows, additional native planting, bird boxes attached to existing trees, and also things like bug hotels and which sort of target various insect species as part of enriching the overall biodiversity for the site. And this will also include looking at green roofs as well and biodiverse roofs. And the next sheet, I think, is just showing some of those possible landscape ideas. So it just sort of shows in a bit more detail the ideas for the play. So we have sort of more sort of natural play elements of play logs, play boulders, and then some of the various sort of timber equipment for younger age groups to have imaginative play, as well as sort of more traditional elements such as the swings, etc. So that will all be set within a landscape area with also a range of plant species which provide sort of sensory planting ideas as well. So touch, smell, etc. And I'll hand back to James.
Thanks, Mike. So just to summarise the presentation so far and some of the benefits of the proposals. So we're looking at delivering around 80 new homes, and that's a sort of 70-30% split of London affordable rent homes and shared ownership, which in planning terms means that they're 100% affordable. We're looking at a high proportion of family homes, around 39% is the target for the London affordable rent schemes. And we're looking at making a positive addition to the high street, as Harriet explained, kind of improving the active frontage around the current gym on the High Street North. And key to the design from the initial capacity study has been to create a low energy building, which results in the council's commitment to net zero carbon, and also reducing bills for residents and reducing fuel poverty. As Mike has explained, there's going to be significant improved green spaces. Following on from the first consultation event, we're looking at opening up the red line a bit more and expanding the site and providing more communal spaces for residents, together with improved communal gardens. As advised, the scheme will be a car-free development. So when people go to bid for the council properties, they'll be advised that they won't be able to bring their cars with them and won't be able to apply for parking permits. But existing residents in the local area won't be affected by this. As part of the procurement of a contractor to build the scheme, obviously we'll be using a private contractor that'll be tendered through the council. And as part of that process, we look at what we refer to as community wealth building. So trying to keep jobs in the local area and trying to support young people in Newham through apprentice schemes and other such promotions. We'll also be promoting sustainable travel. So while it is a car-free development, there'll be significant bike stores on site for residents and for users of the gym and visitors. Can I have the next slide, please? So the last slide really is just to summarise the timeline and the next steps, really. So we're just considering or completing our consultation event. We've got one more event tomorrow evening. We'll be feeding back questionnaire results on that. We'll be looking at submitting a planning application in the summer 2021, and that decision should take about 11 weeks to complete. From that, we'll be starting final design work and procurement of a contractor, looking to start on site in early 2022. The scheme in total should take around 2 years to complete, and we'll be feeding back information to local residents when we have a contractor on board, exactly when the gym can reopen and residents can start using those local facilities again. Thanks very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody who has presented just there. At the moment, I don't see any comments in the chat or any questions, and nobody seems to have their hand raised at the moment. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions to you, I think, James. The first is around, you said the scheme, or colleagues said that the scheme was 100% affordable and mentioned shared ownership units. Who are the shared ownership units going to be for? What is a shared ownership unit?
Sure. Thanks, Oliver. That's a good question. So shared ownership it's become quite a popular sort of product in recent years to help people on low incomes or people first-time buyers get on the property ladder. It is sort of what it states in terms of people who do purchase will purchase a share of that property, and they'll still pay rent for the other part of it, and they'll be able to perhaps increase the share that they purchase through the life cycle and benefit from increasing house prices in the borough. We've just sort of started really developing shared ownership products in Newham, and we'll be working with other council departments to see exactly the how we'll market those, but we will be looking at perhaps key workers and families on median incomes in the borough and in the surrounding areas.
Great. And you mentioned that you're going to submit a planning application in the summer, and there will obviously be a statutory consultation process that's linked to that. How are you going to keep residents updated during that process and through construction if there is a consent for this project?
Sure. Well, the consultation radius that we've used to contact residents about this proposal was agreed with the planning team. So the same consultation radius will be used for that statutory planning process. I'm sure many people have probably seen those sort of yellowish sort of A4 signs pinned to lampposts and things like that. And those type of signs will become available in the local area. Residents will be written to, and they'll have an opportunity to comment on the council's planning portal. Hopefully in support, but obviously with any objections or concerns they have. And all the documents used for the planning application that are being put together by the team here will be available for them to read and to comment on and scrutinise as they see fit. We'll continue to use the co-create platform to update through the process. So when we hit those key milestones such as planning approval, which hopefully we will obtain, and procurement of a contractor, we'll update that information on the website. And keep people informed who've joined these events this evening and future events as well, so that the consultation process runs through the whole development up until the scheme's completed.
And you just mentioned the procurement of contractor. What sort of criteria are you using to determine your contractor if you do get consent for this project?
Thanks, that's another good question. So the council has very strict procurement rules that it has to follow for all the type of procurement that it carries out. And like most other councils, this is based on a cost quality assessment. So it's not necessarily looking for the cheapest tender. We'll ask a series of questions of contractors, invite them to interview, ask them how they'll complete the work, how they'll meet their environmental and the council sustainability credentials, and also how they'll work best with local residents, because we do recognise that it is quite a tight site, and we want to make sure that the contractors appointed are considerate of local residents and are able to communicate effectively what they're trying to achieve and deliver that in the safest and most time efficient way.
And then link to that lastly from me, and if any of the attendees do have any questions, please get them in before we close the session. Link to what you've just said. How are you going to ensure that disruption for residents is minimised and for neighbours is minimised during the process? How is that governed?
Sure. Well, there's two processes that we'll be going through initially. Firstly will be the development of a construction management plan, which will be submitted as part of the planning application. And that will enable council staff in highways to look at the number of vehicles that will need to come on site and how they'll access the site safely and securely. We'll also be ensuring that any appointed contractor is member of what's called the Considerate Construction Scheme, which ensures that they only work to certain timeframes in the weekdays, limited weekend working, and all site facilities, contact details of site managers is made available if anyone has any concerns or questions. There's a scoring mechanism, sort of matrix within that Considerate construction process, and we'll be setting targets and monitoring those targets throughout the build process.
Brilliant. Well, I don't see any questions in the chat and there are no hands up. So I think I'm going to call the session to a conclusion and just thank everybody for coming along and listening. You can submit feedback about this project on the Newham Co-Create website, which is published on the screen at the moment. And there is a contact number, which I believe gets through to James. So you can ask him questions if you have them about the project. So I'm going to thank the panelists for turning up this evening, and thank you to everybody that has attended as well. Enjoy the rest of your evening and go well. Thank you.
Thanks.